What does it take to build event technology that has to work for everyone, everywhere, at all times, all at once? When your platform is that cannot fail, leadership stops being just theory. It becomes operational discipline, adaptability, and a real relationship with pressure. And today, listening to a real relationship with pressure. You're listening to Events Demystified podcast, and this is the CEO edition. Welcome to the Events Demystified podcast, the CEO edition. Welcome back. I'm your host, Anca Platon Trifan, and today we are joined by Muhammad Younus, founder and CEO of vFairs. Muhammad founded vFairs over a decade ago with a clear obsession, helping organizations create impactful events at scale. Since then, vFairs has powered more than 50,000 events globally and connected more than 100 million attendees across 100 plus industries. That kind of scale teaches you things no conference panel can. You learn how to build, how to earn trust, and how to keep evolving with customers, expecting reliability every single day. And with that, it is my great pleasure to welcome our guest to the show.
This episode is brought to you by Trifan Events Production. Learn more at trifanevents.com.
Younus, welcome to the show. I am so glad that we have managed to find the time to do this. I appreciate you being here, making yourself available. And as I mentioned in the introduction, I feel like your story really sits right at the intersection of scale, pressure, and constant reinvention, which is basically the job description for every event tech leadership right now. But before we get into all the leadership questions, I want to start with you. For listeners who may not know you, your background, would you spend a few minutes telling us your journey, what you do, what you stand for, but also what led you to founding vFairs?
Thank you, Anca. My name is Muhammad Younus. I'm the founder and CEO of vFairs. Those of you who don't know about vFairs is an end-to-end event management platform that helps companies run in-person events, hybrid events, virtual events, and we pretty much provide everything from event ticketing and registration to mobile app, batch printing app, exhibitor portal, speaker portal, abstract management, virtual event platform, and so forth. I was an event planner myself. I initially built the software to run my own events. And I did that for almost 5-6 years, to a point where a lot of people started coming to us asking me that, can I use your software, but to run my own events? And I was like, okay, maybe I need to change, again, the business I am in. Launched vFairs and was lucky that one of our initial customers was a Fortune 500 customers. They loved the product. They loved the support, and they were like, you need to let the world know about how great your product is and how great your support is. So that's how the entire journey started. The values that we have from day one, given that I have an event planner myself, is that we know the kind of stress that an event planner goes through. We know that it's an extremely tough job that you are at. And again, at vFairs, we believe that we act as partners to the customer and help them run their event. We don't consider ourselves just as a technology company. We consider ourselves in a hospitality business, where it's our job to make sure that not only our customer is happy, but their end stakeholders are also extremely happy. So that's the mantra that we as a company live by.
Well, just one detail there, because that's quite unique, Younus, as you talked about. I'm an event planner that decided to build a platform. How many event planners have you heard say that? How did you end up building a platform as an event planner? Because not every event planner out there will ever get on to build their own platform and then have a successful business built upon it.
I come from technology background, so I did my bachelor's and master's in software engineering. So before event planner, I was a programmer, I was a QA engineer, I was a programmer. And before building the product myself, because that was not the intention was to run events, I did sign up with another company, and they were charging me $25,000 for one single event. And I was not generating as much money from the event itself because it was a virtual event, but I still wanted to run it. So the event itself was successful, but the software and the support that we got was extremely horrible. And hence I was like, okay, it's a lot of money to give it to a vendor that, let's say, I don't like to begin with. So I decided, you know what, $25,000 is something that I can build the first version of what I was looking for. So that's how it all started. So I think unlike a typical event planner, it helped me that I was a programmer and I came from technical background.
I think that's the best combination. If you're going to build event tech for events, it's a good idea to have run events of your own so you know what the challenges are, right? But also, I think it's a good idea to also have some technical background to understand how that is done. And I think you just happen to have had the magic combination of those two things. So I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that we're going to have this conversation, and we're going to get into the depths of what that looks like and how you're able to do that as a CEO of vFairs. So thank you again for being here and for allowing time for us to be able to talk about it.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Before we get into leadership and scale, I want to start us with a very simple question, Younus. When you think about the earliest version of yourself in your career, before all the titles and the outcomes, what were you most curious about back then?
Yeah, I heard this saying from my parents, and that was always about you have to achieve what your true potential is. Every single day since then, whatever state of mind I am in, I just always go back to what is just my true potential. And again, that's just not for me, that's for me, the company, the people around me. And again, I always hold myself and everyone I know really accountable that we want to make sure that we live up to the true potential. So after I heard this, and I don't know why it stuck to me so much, was that what is that I can achieve in life? And I used to just always look into my skill set, my capabilities, and the opportunities I have around me. And I was like, you know what, if X has done this and Y has done this, can I do something similar?
Yeah, that's almost like this curiosity that kind of like snarks at you and it keeps you currently wanting to pursue the next version of yourself. And I think that's a useful place to start because it often shapes how leaders respond to responsibility when that grows. So I want to get us back to where that foundation was formed in the very beginning. So if you don't mind, take us to that period before you were a CEO. What experiences or influences have shaped how you think about your work, how you think about ownership, how you think about responsibility before leadership even became the normal thing that you now do?
Yeah, I think life is full of experiences, and there's this one of the ones that I typically share just at a very high level is that even before I was a very successful CEO, early in my career, I once had my money in a bank. At that time, a lot of my savings were in the bank, and then suddenly I wake up one day and there's no money in the bank. Somehow there was a loophole in the banking system where someone can take the money out of the bank, and it makes it appear that it was your mistake when it was absolutely not. I used to go to the bank every single day asking them about my money, and they were like, we're checking, and I will come back to you. And it took 2+ months to resolve. But every single day I used to go to the bank saying that I gave you my money. I trusted you with my money. Where's my money? And ever since I came in a position where someone gives me money, I just always feel that I owe them what they have signed up for. A lot more than what a typical, I think, a salesperson or any other company would feel. I believe that I owe them the best of what I have to offer, regardless of whether I was a CEO or not. Even if I was a project manager, I was a software engineer. I've had many roles throughout this journey. But when I look into any project or any interaction with someone, I'm like, this person has trusted my company or this company with their money and time. And I want to make sure that I do absolute justice to it, because what happened with me with the bank is not something that I almost never forget that. So that was just one other experience very early in my career shaped the way I deal with anyone that's around me.
It's almost like do unto others what you would like to be done unto yourself. And that one experience has really formed like that type of responsibility. If somebody is going to trust me with this, whatever this might be, right, amount of a sum of money or a project, I want to make sure that I take care of it. I'm a good steward. That's what it sounds like. Because you were in that experience where the bank is holding your life savings in a way, right? And they do their best to prevent scams and fraud, but sometimes that still happens. And then you're like, but I trusted you to make sure that doesn't happen.
Exactly. And even if it has happened, now help resolve it. But it took a lot more time than few hours or few days. It stays with you. And if it happens for a few minutes, then it comes back. But when you feel that you actually have lost it, because again, it has taken months now, up until you get it back, which I did, it has a very different experience. You live through that moment for months, and I don't want anyone else to go through that.
What stands out to me is how much of your identity gets formed during those type of experiences long before the authority that you now have shows up. And I think that makes the transition into leadership more complex than people expect. Now, you mentioned how you wore different hats. You've obviously on your path from starting your company to becoming the CEO. I'm pretty sure that was not a straight path. And as you're thinking about that journey and doing the work and then seeing the outcome of that hard work, when did you first feel that you were finally seeing that something is happening, that we're building something that is solid?
Yeah. And again, even from my first job, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, I always felt that I am the CEO of that particular small project or small piece of code or small feature that I was responsible for. I always have had that just ownership of responsibility in me. And in my own head, I always felt that for this part, I make all the decisions and it's less about making the decisions. I'm the one responsible for it. Whatever happens, whether it was dealing with a client, dealing with a piece of code. I was lucky in a way that when we built vFairs, one of our initial customer was a Fortune 500 customer. The first inquiry we got was from a Fortune 500 customer. Just like we have put our website, they looked us up on Google, they reach out. And when they spoke to me, when they had a chat with me, because I was only a salesperson back then, they liked the product, but more than the product, they liked working with the team who knows how to run events. Because before building vFairs, I myself have had run over 100 plus virtual events back then. And again, back in 2014, 2015, 2016, not many people have had run virtual events. So they liked the consultancy part of what I had to offer along with the product. And they were like, okay, we'll sign up with you, but I hope you can also guide us of how to run a successful virtual event. Given that they signed up and we went above and beyond to deliver a great service and a product to them, they were saying that we will tell everyone around us of how amazing the product is and how amazing the service is. And from there till 2020, we kept on growing through purely word of mouth. We never made any cold call or any cold email. And then of course, COVID came and then we grew like anything. But I would be like, I initially built the product to serve myself because I was running virtual events. Then I was like, okay, let's put it out there on the web. The very first customer I got is this Fortune 500 customer. And then from there, the moment we served them, they were absolutely wowed by it. And they themselves were like, we're going to tell the world around it.
And probably that's the best way to grow, right? Like word of mouth, because you don't have to struggle to market yourself. But I have a question for you. So when you think about your small team, the product, and the service that was easy to control back then because it was a smaller team, you were just starting and you're growing. And then COVID happened, as you said, and then you just like multiply because we all needed a platform. And having had the experience to run virtual events and doing it right. And to be honest, like I've had a really good experience and a really bad experiences on event platforms back in 2020. One of those platforms, I'm not going to name it, costed me one of my biggest clients because they promoted themselves as being able to support a super large virtual event, and that didn't happen. It just crashed, and it was a global event, and we just had so many issues. And at the end of the day, being the event producer, I took the hit, and that was very hard. So going back to that small team, the core team that you started with, how hard is to grow that culture of customer service that provides the client with the best experience that they could provide them with, even as you multiply, even as you grow beyond your means. And sometimes, especially during that time frame, that growth was at points uncontrollable, right? Because you had to figure out how you're going to manage the volume of what you're working with.
Yeah. You see, it's hard. And I'll tell you the hardest part of what was in the COVID, because again, we were growing very quickly, but I'll tell you, we went from, of course, 20 people to 200 people literally in 6 months, and revenue went up by 10 times also in 6 months. However, it could have grown by 20 times, 50 times, 100 times, only if we were willing to compromise a bit on our support and the quality. Just because there was no shortage of demand, it was purely about how much are we willing to take on as orders. And for me, just because of the experience I've had in the past, right, I'm not someone, or we are not as a company or someone who likes to take money when we don't feel that we can do justice. Again, I'm not saying like all 100% of our customers are always happy with us. Despite your best intention, sometimes there are cases, but the intention is always there. The intention and the effort, both is always there. And the easy part is that everyone in our company knows that it comes from me. I have been a programmer, a project manager, as well as the customer support person for the customer. And all of our employees. Again, to this date, I sometimes act as that person for some of our customers. And my employees knows the importance that we have within the company about time to response, time to make sure that the event is set up, and going above and beyond to deliver the service. And once it comes from the top down, people know that's the bare minimum that we have to do, right? If the CEO of the company can do things in a certain way in terms of just caring about the quality, everyone live up to that kind of expectation. So I have to say, given that the core team had very strong values and foundation of how we want to treat our customers, very rarely we find someone who does not live up to the same just values that we have within the company.
Absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by Trifan Events Production. We don't just produce events, we power them with AV, AI, and a strategy. From bespoke AV production planning and management to AI workshops, courses, and keynotes, we help teams build smarter events and stronger businesses. Learn more at trifanevents.com.
So now when you think about the things when not everything goes as planned, even in the context of best effort and intention, right? Maybe there's timelines that compress, or maybe there's expectations that just don't meet reality or they escalate. What does leadership look like for you in those moments?
Yeah, you have to lead from the front. Okay, whoever the team lead is or the department lead is or the CEO of the company is, they come and they have that honest, transparent conversation that, okay, here is X of what we believed that you are looking for, but it looks like you're looking for Y, or wherever the miscommunication or misalignment is. But the leader has to lead from the front, be absolutely honest. And then the least that you can do is return them their money. Because for me, I don't believe in earning the money if it hasn't been earned. So that's the least one should do. And again, you give that customer the option that here's plan B, because it looks like plan A is not something that both parties can work on. Plan B is this, which is this is what we can deliver to you as a service, or what you offered us X amount of money for plan A, which it looks like cannot be executed for whatever reason. Here's your money back. That's the least one should do. I think where I struggle sometimes with vendors is that when something like this happens, they refer back to the non-refundable clause in the contract. And I just find it extremely, like, they don't realize that world is a small place and every single customer count, even if it's a churn customer, and how you treat with them and how you treat them is extremely important. So that's the least I expect from a leader, from a company.
Do you have maybe a specific example that you can walk us through where maybe you had a rollout or a decision that was made that didn't necessarily work out as planned or failed or something broke? And what have you learned as a leader in the aftermath?
Yeah. I'll tell you, because we were talking about COVID, I remember that there was a time during that period where our salesperson closed a deal. It was a huge deal. It was a 6-figure deal. And the moment it came to our project management team, our product team, they realized that there is the certain enhancement that the customer is looking for. And just given the volume that we have at that time, we were just not sure that we can deliver that on time. I literally went back to the customer telling them that, by the way, it looks like there's a bit of a misalignment of what you're looking for versus what we can offer. It's a big value contract. They already paid the money. I was like, I want to return your money because I don't think so we can deliver exactly what you're looking for. And here are the gaps that we won't be able to fill in. And I have had 2 or 3 cases like this, because at that point, volume was so high that you cannot look into every single deal as a CEO. You have to let the salespeople close as much as they can.
Yeah, because they're like thinking this is a great thing, but they're not necessarily always thinking the application, or they're not the engineer building it.
We were hiring a lot of people. Not everyone has that depth in the product. Sometimes people now don't realize this, but at that time, there were customers who sometimes were willing to take the risk just because they didn't have any other option. We were one of the only few companies who were still a very trusted company out there, who have done this thing for the last 7 years successfully, have biggest companies as our customers, whether it was Nestle or Microsoft or many others. So people wanted us to sign up with them. And that's why I said we could have grown 20, 30, 40 times more if we were willing to kind of take a compromise on the quality. So I remember 3 of these cases. 2 out of them were like, we are okay with this reduced scope of work or this different plan B, because they wanted something to run, because they have taken the money from their sponsors, their exhibitors, for an in-person event that cannot happen, and they have to run some sort of a virtual event right now. And in one other case, the client was like, I absolutely love the fact that we can get our money back, because if this cannot happen, we'd rather not run the event entirely, because it's better not to run an event versus run an event without some of the things that they were looking for, because it was a very specific type of conference that they want to run with hosted buyers and how the meetings should run and so forth.
So I picked on two things. One, honesty and accountability. I think honesty to the client, right? Like what we're able, what we're capable, what we're willing to give up versus what the expectation is. And then accountability to the team, right? Because you don't want to put your team under a stressful deadline to deliver something that could not possibly be done within those constraints. Are there any other values that you'd say you hold dear to yourself when you think about how you built vFairs, how you built this business, anything that supports also the culture that you build around it as well?
Yeah, we have this thing internally that being an event planner, and we genuinely believe in it. See, I've had many roles throughout my career. Again, I have been a programmer, a developer, a project manager, a salesperson in marketing and so forth. But I have run events myself. And I am CEO of a very successful company with 270 employees. That comes with its own work and stress and so forth. But the most stressful job I have ever done is being an event planner. Because when you're CEO of a company, a lot of people report to you and you can get a lot of things done. But when you are an event planner, you report to a lot of people. Like you report to your manager, attendees are your bosses also, exhibitors are also your bosses and sponsors. So you have so many stakeholders. And the reality is you're working 3 months, 6 months, 9 months for that 1 or 2 day of an event. And if anything goes wrong in that particular event, all that 3, 6, 9 months of effort, pretty much in many times in the front of the stakeholders counts to almost nothing. So we have this internal saying that just your wedding date cannot go wrong, or at least it cannot go wrong because of vFairs, or you have to go above and beyond to make sure that you take the stress out of the event planner's shoulder. So the values that we have is that we understand the role, the person that we are working with, and they actually genuinely feel that we run our own events as a company and we ask our people to be the event planner for that particular conference or that particular meeting that we're running. And they go through that stress. They go through that stress knowing how important it is to have a good service and a good product and so forth. So eating your own dog food is something that we do a lot. And again, just trying to let everyone from programmer to project manager to marketing people know the persona that we are serving is something that has helped us a lot, because then people realize they don't just think that what the CEO is saying, they feel the pain of an event planner's job, which again, I said, it's the toughest job I have seen in my life now.
They do say that event planning is one of the most stressful jobs out there. Yeah, sure, we don't have anyone dying on our watch, hopefully not, but still the stress, the anxiety, the responsibility that comes to that. But let me ask you something else. From all the roles that you have taken on, which one was your most favorite? If you were to, like, regardless of pay, regardless of responsibility, regardless of authority levels, did you have something that you felt like this is really something that I would love to do more? Even if nothing else works, this would be something I would love to do more of.
Yeah. See, I love building things. By building things, you don't have to be a programmer. You can be anyone in today's world and you can build something. So for me, that was always important. And again, when I was a programmer, I was building something. When I was a project manager or a salesperson, I was building relationships. But I like this thinking that I always had in me, is that I'm the CEO of whatever I was doing. Just because I never want to give excuse to myself that I haven't achieved X, Y, or Z, just because my manager didn't allow me to do so, or I didn't have the resources and so forth. So when you actually become the CEO, you have absolutely no excuse of why you don't deliver the service that you would hope to get from any other vendor out there. So taking the authority and whatever perks as CEO get, I like the job just because it allows you to achieve your true potential, whatever it is. And again, I said, like, that's the thing that I always had in my mind from day one when my parents mentioned that you have to achieve your true potential, is that whatever I'm achieving, good or bad, or if I haven't achieved something, is purely on me. It's totally on me. No one else is there to blame, not the market, not the employees, no one else. Because on paper, I do have the authority to get things done from anyone.
So if you think about the CEO, right, when you strip away the title, the platform, the business that you build, the community that you build, the growth metrics, everything, and you think about what does being a CEO mean to you now versus what it used to mean in the very beginning, how would you see those two places? Is it any different, or is the same things never really changed truly?
Yeah. So a lot of the values are same. It's just that you keep on growing. So basically, initially, of course, you have to build something to be able to have people sign up with a product, right? So in the beginning, it's really about finding the right product market fit, that have you built something that actually generally solve a problem and so forth. Again, in my case, I was lucky because I initially built the product for myself. I didn't plan to sell it to anyone else.
How did you, let's get there for a second. Like, did you just decide, okay, this is going to be something that will be useful to me. And then from there, you found customers that wanted to use this product.
So I was responsible to run or to do online events. So as part of my job was to run online events. And I initially looked for other vendors. And I did sign up with one vendor. And just the product and the service was absolutely horrible. So again, I come from technical background. I was like, okay, I don't like the product. I don't like the service. There's not many similar products out there. And even if they are, the pricing was just absolutely ridiculous.
There was not a lot of competition back then.
Yeah, again, this is back in 2007, 2008. Like I wanted to do one virtual event. And even back then, it was $25,000 to run one virtual event for the software piece. And I was like, I want to do one. I don't want to do hundreds of them annually. And I was like, okay, if I have to spend $25,000, let me work with someone else and just build the software myself because I can do it roughly around that cost, at least as an initial MVP. So again, I built the product myself and I started using it myself to run my virtual events because that was the only goal that I had back then. And then with time, a lot of the speakers, exhibitors, attendees who used to come and attend those events, they were like, okay, how can I use this platform to run my events? I was like, no, that's the platform just to run my own events. But when I heard it enough, I realized that, okay, maybe this is the business I should get into, right? That's when we launched vFairs. And again, as I mentioned, when we launched vFairs, one of the initial customers that we got was this Fortune 500 customer.
Was the name vFairs coming from like virtual fairs, or how did you come up with the name?
Back then, yes, the virtual fairs. But given that we now do a lot more in-person events than the virtual fairs, you can still call it versatile fairs or variety of fairs, etc. So the word virtual is not there anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
That are the virtual events, or I don't think they should be that. What's your take on that? Do you feel like in-person events should be some kind of a virtual element to them?
It depends on the type of events. By the way, our platform has been used to run more than 6,000 plus events, out of which 40% of them were virtual. So we are still one of the biggest players when it comes to the virtual events. And again, there are many use cases where it only makes sense to do a virtual event. It does not make sense to do an in-person event. And the opposite is also true. If you're going to do a very small, intimate gathering of 20 people over a dinner, it should be a dinner in a nice restaurant. However, on the flip side, if you plan to do an online hiring event, you want to hire or you want to recruit people, if you do an online recruitment event, you will find out absolutely amazing talent from all over the country, all over the world, applying and having those live chats with recruiters. So there are many use cases where online is the best way of handling it. But when it comes to typical conference, if you have attendees who can be there in person, that's great. But if you have an audience that might not be there, having a virtual component is just your way of adding more value for your attendees, exhibitors, sponsors, and for everyone else, right? So it makes a lot of sense. And thousands of companies do hybrid events with us, so they realize that as well.
Now, you operate in a space where technology, expectations, scale are constantly shifting, especially in the world of AI. How do you decide what truly deserves your attention versus what is just noise as you think about new features, as you think about new modules or new upgrades to the platform? What is worth spending your time on versus this is just another one of those things that it's a trend, but it's not really going to stand the passing of time?
Thousands of customers, and the pros and cons of that is that 80% of our entire roadmap is always driven by the customers because we have so many of them. They always have something next that they have in their wish list, which means that the 80% of what we are building, even before it has been built, is already voted by at least 10 plus customers that they want it. So you build something that will actually be used because it has been requested. But at the same time, you don't only want to build things that are requested by the customer. You want to be ahead of the game. And again, in AI world, we all have our theories of what's next. And then it's a big team. We all vote. We all share our opinion about, okay, this is the problem that we want to solve. We all use to drag and drop things, and we're all moving towards prompt-based. Not every event planner, or let's say most of the event planners still are not comfortable using a prompt-based system because habits are tough to change. But we're also of the opinion that in a year or two, when everyone is so used to doing prompts or doing voice prompts, they would expect every software to have that functionality. And that's why I have our opinion. We build things based on how people are dealing with Gemini and ChatGPT and all of these AI tools, and how our own tool can be a reflection of the most common tools that we use. So working on that.
Events Demystified, the podcast for event professionals.
I love that. I think in this day and age, discernment becomes a leadership skill of its own, right? And sustaining that clarity over time requires more than just strategies like listening, curiosity, looking outside of just the event space, tech space to see how people are using AI or using technology and how is that changing our behaviors really, because it truly is. Now, Ines, I know I would love to continue this conversation.
We
This
can.
will be
We have time now, so that thing has been taken care of. Yeah.
I would love to listen and hear more from you. When you think about your journey, how you built what you built, is this something that you imagine yourself doing as you embarked on this journey, or you were kind of guided by, like you said, this one decision to build your own platform guided you to now produce a product that really is very much used by many customers? And is that something that you envision yourself do, or it just happened that you follow the flow of where those type of micro decisions took you along the way?
It's the micro decisions that took along the way. Before this job, I was head of a couple of other departments, very successful jobs in that way. And again, it's just that this thing on the side became a lot more successful than a lot of the other things that I was doing. That itself was very successful, but maybe not as successful as this one. I never envisioned for this one to grow as quickly as it did. And again, it was primarily because of three things, I would say. Like the first one, of course, is the product itself. Two, of course, COVID helped. But more than that, I never realized that a software business, how much great customer support can change the entire trajectory of the growth of the business. So when you are running a software business, you feel like it's all about the software, which it is, because in the end, that's what people are buying. But just because of the nature of the events industry, support was considered optional. And in many cases, one had to purchase hours for proper support or for proper project management. When we did it, we were like, okay, like I cannot charge someone to properly use my product or to get the best out of my product. I need to give them that support, give them that consultancy, give them that guidance of how to best use the product to achieve the end outcome. And that for us became our biggest factor of our growth and continues to be. Like there are not many companies out there who overspend the way we do on the support that we provide to our customers.
Taking us back to talking a little bit about AI, what ways do you feel like AI is amplifying the use of the platform or supporting it? Because I see a lot where AI definitely amplifies output when it's given the right role. And there's a lot of leaders, a lot of people, a lot of event planners thinking of AI and getting it wrong because they're not assigning it the right responsibility. And then that's when disappointment shows up as well. And when you think about expecting intelligence to compensate for unclear processes and thinking, that doesn't necessarily work because AI won't, or intelligence won't conform to the role. It will conform to the role that it's given, but if that role is not clear, you're not going to get the output that you expect. How do you support the use of AI with the platform so that things are clear, so that it's easy and it's not confusing? Because there's a lot of confusion sometimes when you embed too many features, too many functions. You mentioned prompting, that could be a challenge. But as you're embedding AI now in the functionality, how are you helping the end customer really see it as support?
Yeah. So first of all, there are areas where AI is absolutely amazing. And again, it all starts with how well you have trained just the AI bot that you have, right? Because the better the input, the better the output. And I also would say that unlike any other industry or any other persona with events, because AI is not perfect, but events demands perfection. You cannot go wrong, or you cannot just make up things when it comes to things related to events. So it has to be 100% perfect, or otherwise it's still work in progress. You cannot do 80% of the job in most cases. Where we have seen successfully our customers using AI is primarily on the support piece. The support piece is where, because again, even us as a company, all the features that exist have a very proper manual around it, right? It has a very nice help desk article and so forth, which means that the same support that we are absolutely proud of, which purely used to be human with 30 plus team members, now that team has been just re-engineered because 80% of those inquiries are handled by AI bot with 100% rating, perfection rating, right? Because it does the job. Unless someone wants to talk to someone, at which point they can call one of our team members. The other part where it's helping is just going from 0 to 90% within minutes, right? So previously, if you want to set up a landing page or a reg form, you have to drag and drop, etc. But now with the prompt, it can build that first version of the landing page. It can build that first version of the registration form. And then you still have to spend that extra 5-10% in order to achieve perfection. So going from 0 to 90% has become a lot more quicker versus what it used to be. With AI, the personalization piece becomes just so much more easy, primarily because once you input the attendees details, the sponsor details, and so forth, the software has become a lot more intelligent just because of AI, that it can do that personalized recommendation and matching a lot more better than what it used to be before. Before, everyone has to work on their own algorithm, but now they can throw that data into kind of an LLM and it can get back the right personalization and matchmaking for a lot of these stakeholders.
You mentioned AI adoption as a major focus, especially when it comes to smarter matchmaking, content generation, analytics, and all that. How do you feel AI can generally improve the attendee experience? And where does it risk adding noise or maybe misplaced trust, especially when you deploy it at scale, right? Because vFairs has powered events with more than 100 million attendees. That's 50,000 events that you worked on and connected so many people. Do you feel like AI need to support and be true when it comes to data, the governance, accountability, so you can still sleep well at night and not stress about how that might impact the experience?
I'll tell you where it has been successfully working. The first one is to get the support and to get 24/7 support. So basically, whether you are on an event page or different ways.
That's the first level of support, basically.
First level support, you
Yeah.
get instantly. AI has helped attendees a lot. That's one. The second thing.
Did you feel like that first level of support, have you gotten good feedback from? Like, personally, everybody has that first level of AI bot support, right? And it can be very annoying to someone that wants to talk to a person trying to solve an issue. Do you feel like you've gotten positive feedback from that interaction, or it's a learning process?
Chat-based support, assuming the right input is there, it has been trained well. Because see, when we're all chatting, we just want the response back. In all cases, we see the text, we don't see the person or the bot behind it. It works absolutely amazing. The same way that we all, when we prompt a chat GPT, we get the response back.
Yeah.
We don't get annoyed by it because what we care about is the output that has been sent. So the chat-based support is there. I'll say the phone-based support is about to get there, which is that the pause that sometimes the online bot takes sometimes can be a bit annoying, or the accent or the voice. But those things are like almost about to achieve perfection. We already have done a lot of beta tests and people absolutely love it. I'll tell you primarily why. Because if it's a complex call, an AI agent is able to resolve it with far more accuracy than a normal phone agent person. So if it's a complex problem to be solved or a query to be answered, these bots are trained and they remember everything about the most complex configuration in the system. Whereas many of the times the chat-based agent or the phone agent are your entry career level, mid-career level people. They don't
so they don't have the technical knowledge to even get to that place of answering.
They don't have 10 years of history and know
Yeah.
every single thing about the product. So that's where it's about to get into. The third one, then I would say, is just getting personalized emails. Right? So we have seen that as event planners are reminding people, they're not sending that just one generic email. They can have a personalized email sent to me saying that I saw that you registered for this particular event. By the way, here are the 5 other people that matches your profile that have also registered for this event. Here is a way for you to connect with them. Even before I have been there, I see those emails come to me from other platforms as well.
Yeah.
And we allow our customers to send similar emails to their attendees, just doing that personalized email reminders, reach out, and so forth, which historically was not possible.
I think that's a great thing that you're pointing to, because I think one of the biggest reasons why people go to in-person events is networking, having the ability to connect with other people. Now, normally when I go to an event, a conference, either I'm there to speak or I'm there to attend it, I do some legwork prior to attending the conference to connect with people either via LinkedIn or other communities, so that I have some people already lined up that I would connect with and meet. Now, if you were to send me an email like that with recommendation based on my interests, based on my LinkedIn profile, based on things that maybe I would be interested to connect with people, like-minded people, I think that's golden right there, because that takes away the extra legwork that I would be doing anyway. So that to me is one feature that it would be so beneficial to my experience attending this event and overall to the experience that I'm having on this platform. Like, I just came back from a cruise and I took my family on a cruise and it was wonderful. And when you're on those cruises, you only have the means of communication is the app. One of the biggest issues with the app, especially when we were at sea, is the messages that we were sending. We couldn't send WhatsApp messages. We couldn't send anything else because there was no network unless you sign up for their network. Their network sometimes was working, sometimes it wasn't working. The messages were constantly getting lost and in the app itself. And that just created this frustration. I remember at one point we were all supposed to be meeting at this meeting place, and my husband was lost somewhere on the boat, and we had this time that we needed to be at a start time, and he couldn't be found, and I couldn't find him, and I'm messaging him and he's not getting the messages. That to me is technology getting in the way and not supporting the experience, right? So coming back to what you said, like sending those emails with recommendations, what an amazing idea. Let's do more of that.
And I'll tell you, I did a podcast with the CEO of Relate app. He built this workflow of if you feed in the attendees data, upload it to their system, within the next 5 minutes, it will find out the 5 people based on whatever criteria you want to point it out.
Right.
So again, it exists in our system as well, but I'm just saying that it's so easy nowadays, like that literally the CEO of Relay.app in 15 minutes built the entire thing from ground up.
Vibe coded the whole thing.
Vibe coded the whole thing. It was like, okay, because I was exactly like you, that this is an absolutely amazing feature. And he was like, okay, let's just build it out. And then he literally go ahead and upload this Excel sheet. We randomly upload like 6-7 people. And the system picks up the right 2 people that it should be meeting and why. Yeah. So I absolutely agree. And then same thing as you're there then on the event itself. If it's a small event, you can go through all the sessions yourself. For example, one of the customers that we serve, they have 150 plus sessions. I personally myself attend HubSpot Inbound and a couple of other conferences. They have 200 sessions, 300 sessions, 500 sessions sometimes, the SaaSter of the world and so forth. Now, previously, it was only search-based or filter-based searches. Now, with mobile app like vFairs and others, you can just tell the prompt that based on what you know about me and what I'm looking for, can you recommend me the sessions I should be attending? So it builds the personalized agenda for you. You can still go ahead and add, remove the things, but at least it takes away the hassle of you yourself going through 150 plus sessions and trying to find out.
Yeah. And if this is like a 2-3 day, 4-day event, and then you have one session after another, oh my gosh, what painful it is to do that. I couldn't agree more. Just last year, we were using a platform for an event. And last year, we were still struggling to figure out this matchmaking, like AI matchmaking. How do we not have it figured out by now? And trying to do exactly this thing to get sessions, recommendations that are really useful and personalized to the experience that I'm trying to have at this event. And it was interesting to see how many platforms, when you do the work to investigate, they didn't have a solid feature. Now, as we're coming to an end, Younus, because I would love to continue this conversation, but as we're thinking about the next generation of event tech CEOs, in your opinion, what qualities would you say will matter most as the platforms are becoming more and more AI capable, the customer expectations is rising, and the pace of change, really, it's pretty aggressive. What is the quality that you need to have to survive in this wild west of event tech?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. First of all, we are in the business of technology, so you have to adopt AI because sooner or later, all of these platforms needs to be AI native. We're all starting with certain features. Eventually, the whole platform has to be such that if someone wants to use a prompt or a voice prompt, they should be able to achieve whatever they want to achieve as compared to configuring the platform. I still believe that no matter how amazing the AI would be, and it is, I still feel that we are not only in a technology business, we are in the hospitality business, which means that for at least us, support and the customer service will always be the single most important factor in the way we deal with our customers. Again, that does not mean that we have to throw 100 people to provide the support. That means that as and when the support is required, it is instant. And again, the best software is such that no support is required and the customer is able to achieve whatever they want to achieve all by themselves. But if they need help, for whatever reason, they are overloaded and they don't understand something, or they want to brainstorm of how to achieve the best using the software. For us, that's always going to be the key. And the third one is just, again, like I think this is in this industry, empathy matters a lot. I genuinely believe that at least of the jobs I have done, I'm not a doctor, so there's no one dying on my watch, but of the jobs I have done, and I have done a bunch of them, being an event planner is the toughest job I have ever seen. And for me, making sure that we take the stress away from them. So that for me, at least, is the key. So AI adoption, and then just have an absolutely amazing customer support. Think of yourself as a hospitality business, not just a tech business. Is what we are going after.
And I think that can be a very hard line for someone to walk, especially if you think about event technology is built usually by technology people, by developers, not like event planners like yourself, right? So many technologies, they don't necessarily have that people skills, the empathy that you speak of, the understanding of how it takes that humanness to make events really shine, not just the tech to work. Coming from, I work with a lot of AV techs, excellent AV techs in many roles, and they would be excellent in their role. But if you put them in front of a client or in front of an attendee and try to solve something, you could shoot yourself in the foot. It would not be a good outcome. And you had to be very careful who's ready for that interaction versus someone that they just want to do the things that they're in charge of and do it at the best of their skill level and capability, but don't have them talk to the client or talk to someone else. I think that can be hard for leaders. Would you say so?
Absolutely. That's one. And then I'll add one more thing on top of exactly what you mentioned, is that as and when you become a little bit more successful as a tech business, tech businesses get a lot of investors. We get reached out by pretty much every other investor out there. And once you take that money, their job is to make your company a lot more efficient. And the first thing that gets cut in terms of spend is why you want a lot of these support people, or charge for support, or charge for project management. And I just feel that's wrong, because as I mentioned, if someone has signed up for our software, they should get the best support as and when they want to get.
Yeah.
And people shouldn't have to pay for it, so forth, right? So basically, it's a tricky business to be in, because when you're building tech, again, you don't have those soft skills, or you don't have that customer empathy in mind, and just trying to kind of balance the both is not everyone's focus, at least.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Younus. Around here, we also talk a lot about being fit for events, which means showing up at your very best mentally, physically, emotionally, because leadership and endurance are pretty connected, especially in our industry. What's your version of staying fit for events? How do you protect your focus, your energy when the business is demanding and always asking you to do more or to give more of your time?
It's really two things. Spend quality time with family and friends. I think once you do that, it just tells you that we're all human. And in the end, we are all here for the family and the friends that are around us. And businesses will have its own challenges. They will grow. You will have ups and downs. But if you're not living the life throughout this journey, then when will you live that life to begin with? So for us, every day is an event that you have to work hard for and you have to enjoy. The same way that you plan an event, and you have to work hard towards that and then enjoy that particular event. And then second thing is at least play a sport. I think just once you play a sport, you realize that you win sometimes, you lose sometimes, but you have to enjoy the sport itself. And running a business is like a sport. You have to enjoy the journey. And eventually it will all be okay if you take care of your customer. Yeah.
What sport do you enjoy?
And nowadays I have started, I used to play squash.
What is squash?
Squash is, again, it's like tennis, but you just have one wall and you just kind of hit that wall, and it requires a lot of sprint just in between.
It's not pickleball.
It's not pickleball, but I play pickleball. It's more like tennis versus pickleball is more like table tennis. But paddleball is you have the walls behind you and you can make use of that as well. As compared to pickleball, where of course there are no walls behind you.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Very cool. I love it. But I love the solid reminder about spending time with your loved ones. I think there's a lot of data actually coming out of what being fit and what lifespan and what longevity looks like is surrounding yourself with those that matter to you the most. And that can really improve your lifespan. And that's very interesting because living in a society where, and I've seen this, like even as we came from this vacation that we took, it used to be like where people talk to each other, like you're in a jacuzzi with a bunch of strangers and people talk to each other. But now it's more and more where they're just looking at a screen. They're like facing a phone, like nobody doesn't want to interact. Like it takes a person kind of being more of a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Extrovert.
That's right. It takes an extroverted person to look around and start a conversation versus being an introvert and just being on kind of not wanting to interact with anyone. And it's hard, but that's the one thing that really supports longevity, to be able to have a social life, to have people in your corner, especially in a loneliness type of pandemic that many of us are going through. And it's definitely affecting a lot of our young generation. But I'm glad that you mentioned that. I would love for people to be able to connect with you and learn more about what you're building at vFairs. What are some of the things that you're working on in the future? Where would you like our audience to connect with you and follow your work, or maybe ask questions?
Yeah, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you go on LinkedIn, search for Muhammad Younus, CEO of vFairs, you'll find me over there. If you send me a message, connect with me. I'm there to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, that's a wrap for our CEO edition of the Events Demystified podcast. Muhammad Younus, thank you for joining me and for building in a category where reliability and innovation have to coexist every single day. And for everyone listening, follow the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, share this episode with a leader who is building under pressure and is trying to scale without losing their standards, but also themselves in the process. And until next time, stay curious, stay adaptable, and stay fit for events. Thanks for tuning into the CEO edition of the Events Demystified podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Trifan Events Production. We don't just produce events, we power them with AV, AI, and a strategy. From bespoke AV production planning and management to AI workshops, we help teams build smarter events and stronger businesses. Learn more at trifanevents.com.